Hello everyone, James here. I'm going to talk about New York City today. The once thriving real estate mecca of the United States and of the world has now become a story of COVID-19 and how everybody's fleeing the city. New York City once was the heartland of coronavirus, had the most cases in the nation, had the most deaths in the nation. People have left to go to the Hamptons, left to go to New Jersey, left to go to Florida. In any case, real estate is down. The rental market is dead. Dead. Nobody's renting apartments anymore. And people trying to sell their apartments, forget about it. Anything over $4 million is down 85%. The market, there's no one buying anything in New York. So if you wanted to invest in New York, probably would be a great time if you had millions of dollars, because you get pick up properties, apartments pretty darn cheap. They're throwing in all these kind of plans now that you don't have to pay the HOA for a year. They give you free parking. They're trying all these incentives to get you to buy real estate, but it's really a dead market because everybody has left the congested city because of the COVID-19 for the suburbs, where you can actually have a little piece of land to yourself and you don't have to worry about being around so many people at one time. Well, New York City is dead. Okay, the city has fully not come back because the mayor and the governor haven't opened the city, even though it probably has the lowest COVID-19 cases in the nation. New York and New Jersey were the two worst. Combined, they have under 10 deaths. The two states combined. And combined, they only had about 700 new cases a day. As back in the day, New Jersey had 450 deaths a day, and New York had close to 800 a day. Okay, things have changed. Now there's hardly anything in New York City, but New York City still remains closed for political reasons or whatever. You know, you have a progressive mayor and a progressive governor, and it's the election cycle, and there's a whole reason why they don't want to open the economy. We all know that. We've seen it around the nation. But it's killing businesses. 66,000 businesses gone. Restaurants have to eat outside. You have to wear masks all the time while you're walking around New York City. It's 93 degrees, 100% humidity. It's very difficult to do. These are all just factors that factor in, but there's no businesses open. All these companies in New York are not there. Nobody's in New York City. There's a few businesses, yeah, Macy's is open and Target's open and a few stores like that. A few little, delis and sub shops and stuff, but the big companies never came back. They didn't come back to the office space. So without the office space, that's a big problem. So now all these office buildings, like WeWork, are going bankrupt because nobody's coming back. All these office spaces are empty. And so all the surrounding businesses die because there are so many restrictions on these businesses to open. It's really crazy. They just opened the High Line recently, which was an old railroad tracks on the west side. It stretched from 34th Street down to 14th Street. That just opened. And it's a great place to walk and hang out. That just opened. It was closed for months and months. And, I'm so tired of hearing this, social distancing, wear your mask. We all got it, okay? We got it. Wearing a mask is not going to protect you. Okay, they just came out with a new study to show that 90% of the masks out there are crap. And you're wearing a bandana doesn't do anything. Wearing a mask that's not 3 phases on it does nothing. Only N95 helps you. Everything else is just fantasy. So, what we have to do is political correctness. I get it. I wear it when I go into a store, even though the guy, I know it's not going to protect me, but I do it anyway. I'm from New Jersey. We were in the height of it. I worked in New York, and now I'm going to go back to New York this week and do some filming in New York, because it's been a while since I've been there, and I haven't been there since March because of what's going on. I'm trying to reassociate my business again, so I'm going to go into New York and do some business and do some filming and show you around New York City how it has changed and how there's nobody there. But the problem is the markets are going to stay dead as long as there's COVID-19 and the governor and the mayor continue to suppress new businesses from opening. Nobody wants to open a business. And it's not the protesting anymore. The protesting in New York is really, they're there every day, and they've been protesting every day in New York for my whole lifetime. It doesn't matter. It's like Washington, D.C. There's always somebody protesting. That has nothing to even do with the problem. The problem is no businesses. There's so many businesses that are closed. That's the big problem. So every day I used to get about 1 million people would come in from the suburbs from New Jersey, Connecticut, and the outer boroughs would come into Manhattan every day on the subway. Take the train into Penn Station or Grand Central Station, depending where you're coming from. Now it's nothing. Even the cars driving in, there's hardly any traffic because there's not a whole lot to do. Not a whole lot to do, and that creates a real stress on the real estate business. New York had a great real estate business going there, but now you got all these politicians want to pack all these new laws on. They want to have a millionaire's tax in New York to help with the deficit. New York had a deficit of $6 billion, the state, prior to COVID. Okay, now they have about a 25-30 billion deficit. New York City is running at a $10 billion deficit. So they're looking for ways to get money. So then they want to do a pari tiere, which is if you own an apartment in New York but you don't live there full time, even though you're paying property taxes on that property, they want to tax you again because you own a property that you don't live in. So they want to throw another tax in there, a user tax, even though you're already paying your $145,000 a year for taxes, whatever you're paying. They want to put another tax on it. So all these taxes are squeezing people from going to New York. If you live in New York State and you live in New York City, you have to pay a city income tax, you pay a state income tax, which combined is about 13%. That's the highest tax brackets. If you go to New Jersey, the highest tax bracket is 8.97%. And New Jersey probably is trying to do a millionaire's tax, so they have been trying for a couple of years. So all these things are what squeezes people on saying, I don't need any of this. I can go to Florida. Zero income tax. If we have to work remotely, I can work from my condo on Miami Beach or in Key West. I pay no state income tax, but I still get paid by my company because the company said I don't have to come back. If I work remotely, I can work anywhere in the world. Well, you want to be on the same time, but you can work remotely from Florida, which would be ideal. I would love to work remotely in Florida. I know COVID's a little rough right now, but it's going to go away. It burned out in New Jersey and New York, and it burned out everywhere. It was so hard hit here. As soon as everybody was locked down in their houses, as soon as in the apartments, as soon as the weather broke and everybody got outside, COVID died. That's what the problem is. If you're locked down, COVID kills. COVID killed more families because they were locked in the house together than they did separately. So it's a big problem. New York has been hit hard, and there's no way it's coming back this year. Even if the election is over, there's still no way to come back until we get a vaccination. And even then, it's all about political control now. The mayor just instituted having checkpoints at entrances to New York City on cars, trains, and planes. And come on. If you want to turn people away from coming to New York, that'll do it. New York was like the number 2 destination for tourists in the nation. Florida probably is number 1. New York's number 2. Washington, D.C., Los Angeles, Las Vegas. Those are big places for tourism. New York, no tourists. Broadway's closed. No sports. You can't go to sports. We got the U.S. Open tennis starting. You can't go to that. So what the heck good is it? So all these millions of dollars in tax money, that revenue that the state and the city could have made, is gone. So there's no reason that people want to stay in New York anymore. There's nothing to do. People go to the restaurant. You couldn't go to a restaurant because the governor went after you. You have to have food if you're going to have a beer or a wine. So they do French fries, and then and the mayor gets mad. You can't do it. You got to do something else. The mayor is dictating. It's like a dictatorship now. And it's really pathetic. If you live here in the New York area, it is so funny to see how everybody's trying to press. Then they cry that they need money. We need money from Washington. We need stimulus money because we have been running a deficit. So Nancy Pelosi came up with this plan. We all heard about from what President Trump said. But this is what goes on, and the negative effect on real estate or people wanting to live in New York City and New York State is, I don't need to live there. You're going to start taxing me at a higher rate again, and I get nothing in return for it. If you want to tax me high, great. Let me go to a restaurant. Let me go to the store. But there's no freedoms anymore in New York. It's really how I hate to say it, Democratic-run cities are, like Los Angeles and Chicago and Atlanta. And they're like that now, and it's really crazy. I guess we all need to wake up. Will this all go away at some point? Yeah, obviously COVID's going to go away. It's going to take a while, but you know, once we get the vaccination, I'm getting it. There's no doubt about it. And I expect, you know, at least 70% of the people to get it. If you don't get it and you get sick, it's on you. You know, if you get sick after our vaccination comes out, you get COVID and it hurts you and your family, that's on you. But like I said, the real estate market is bad in New York and it's not getting any better this year. So if you like what I do, please subscribe today. Have a great day.